What I want to share with you guys is how I got here to be in front of you, how the series of events that transpired that led me here today. I'm from the Caribbean, a small island by the name of Anguilla, and what qualifies me as a accidental entrepreneur. Let's talk about accidental. I was trying to define that word. And I just sum it up to, it's something that was unexpected. So I think my life to this point, I'm 28 years old, I think. 28, yes. 28 years old as of a couple days ago. My life has been a series of unexpected events. And I'm going to share a story with you that involves, it's a story of 3 decisions. And those decisions I had to make because I had an unexpected, event, an unexpected situation that just came up. And I was like, okay, well, a decision needs to be made. So let's go wind the clock all the way back. I was 9 years old on the island. Population is like 10,000 or something. It's smaller than Regina, so end on end, it could probably fit between here and Moose Jaw like 3 times, just to put it in perspective. So real small island. But so yeah, I'm 9 years old. I'm in elementary school, and we had a track and field meet coming up, and all my friends were eager and excited and going up to the teacher's desk and signing up to be on a team. So I was sitting in class, and I was like, and I think it was recess or something, everybody's like crowding in our class, and I was like, well, I want to do track and field too, because all my friends are doing it. So I was like, I go up to the desk, and I'm waiting in line, and growing up I was a nice kid. I wasn't that type of guy to push people around. I'll just stay there and wait my turn. So I did, and I was the last person up to the desk, and I was like, her name was Teacher Heather. I was like, Teacher Heather, I want to do the relay because all my friends are doing the relay, so can I do the relay? And growing up, she called me Josh. She was the neighbor. She was my neighbor. My neighbors in my family, they call me by my name. So she's like, sorry, Josh, all the events are taken. The relay is booked. I was like, crap. And then she said, but you can run the 400. I was like, oh yeah, sure, sign me up. So I said yes, and that was number 1, unexpected moment number 1. And I'm gonna bring it back home in the end, hopefully. So bear with me. But I said yes to something that was unexpected. I didn't expect there was more events, more things to sign up for, and she just threw it out at me, and I was like, oh yes, sure. So now is the day of the competition. I'm at the track, and I'm watching all the races happen. I see the relays go. I was like, oh, that was cool. And then my name gets called. I walk out. I'm like 9 years old, so I'm just, walking out to the track. And I go to the starting line. And just before the race started, she came to me, and she saw that, came down to my level, and she just whispered over my shoulder. She's like, Josh, when you hear that whistle go, you're gonna run as hard and as fast as you can, and don't stop, and don't look back. Anybody in here seen Forrest Gump? Run, Forrest, run. It was literally like that. When that whistle went, I just took off with speed, and I was just running and running and running. I didn't even know what a 400 was. It turned out a 400 was 1 lap around the track. And it's 400 meters, and so you're 9 years old. That's a long way. That's like a quarter mile or something. So, and I grew up in a I was an obedient kid growing up, so she told me not to look back. So I was running my heart out, and I was scared because I wanted to look back, and I didn't want to look back because I felt if I looked back, I would get in trouble. Well, I'm on the home stretch coming home, and I was like, oh, I don't see anybody. I don't know what's going on. And I just kind of like cheated and looked over my shoulder, and I was like, Everybody else is on the other side of the track. No wonder this hurts. I went too fast. So I won. I got a little gold medal. I still can remember it vividly to this day. And long story short, that was the beginning of my track and field career. Let's jump forward now. I did 5 years at the University of Regina with the track and field team there. But now I'm going to tell you how I got from the island to here. So I did track. Fast forward, I was in track, and I had a really good coach and mentor. And I would say, she was like a second mother to me because she took me under her wing and she really taught me a lot of important skills in life to become, which a lot helped me to shape me to become the person I am today. Her name was Wilma Proctor, and she was my track and field coach. Her daughter was an athlete as well, and that's why she started coaching, because she felt she can help her daughter to excel in a sport. Well, her daughter became a two-time Olympic athlete for Great Britain. And at the time I was training with her, she told me one thing. In sport, you can get two things. Most people get one of the other. You get an education, or you go pro, you make a lot of money. You've got to decide what you want to do. And for my entire track career, I was thinking I want to go pro. At that time, I want to be like Usain Bolt. And at this time, he didn't break onto the scene. This was way before 2008. He was still in the Caribbean, but he was breaking all the records. So we were like, oh, we want to be like Bolt. So I was training hard, working hard every day. I wanted to be like Bolt. And then I realized, you know what? I probably hit my growth spurt early because I just wasn't fast anymore. I was like, oh, I'm not fast. So I was still good enough, and I got good training, coaching from my coach that, I was like, let's get an education. So at the time, my coach, she was taking all these courses and certifications to further advance herself in, the art of coaching track and field. She got to the point where she was taking her level 5 certification, and in track and field, that's the highest certification you can get as a coach. So in order to do that, she had to do two things. She needed on the study, she needed an athlete that she can give her programs to and record the results, and also she needed to go to Edmonton to do the course. So she left me on the island. I was training. She flew to Edmonton. And in Edmonton, while taking her level 5, she met another person by the name of Carla Nichols. And Carla Nichols is a lady that works for Athletics Canada, and she works with the Olympic teams, and she's been to every Olympics since the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. And what Athletics Canada does, or what they do in the winter here, they take the Olympic athletes down to the Caribbean for warm weather camps and training. So Wilma came to Edmonton, she met Carla, they became friends, and then Carla, for her work, had to go down to the Caribbean, to St. Kitts, with Perdita Felician, Jessica Zelinka, and some of the other Olympic athletes to train. And she said, hey, Wilma, why don't you come over, bring your athletes, and let's train. Let's train in training camp. So, yeah, Wilma took me over, and I trained with the Olympic athletes. It was, to this day, the hardest training camp I've ever been in. My ass got kicked all over the place, but it was great hanging out with some, really cool people. So after the training camp, Carla found out that I was, interested in getting an education, and I was looking to get into school. At this time, because my little tiny island, we're a British overseas territory, so I was looking to go to school in the UK and go to do engineering and and all those other things. Because at the time, after high school, I ended up going back into that same high school as a substitute teacher. And let me backtrack a little bit. At that time, after high school, the '08 recession had hit. There wasn't much work on the island. Our island, there's no natural resources. Our main industry is tourism. Our tourists come from America, and the economy went bad. So a lot of big projects, big hotels, big golf courses, big projects went on. A lot of people were out of work. That morning I was going somewhere. I saw my friend on the road. I stopped, I picked her up. She said, "Hey, guess what? I just got offered a job at the high school because the principal said she needed, somebody to teach a class." I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, we just graduated. You got a job?" She's like, "Yeah, just go and ask her. Maybe you might get a job too." So I was like, "Okay." So I go into high school and I walk in, and then she's got a secretary and whatever. I just kind of walked in, and the secretary was at the photocopy or something. I was straight into the principal's office, like, "Hello, Miss Lake. I heard you need teachers." And she looked at me. She's like, "Well, yeah, you did auto mechanics, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I did it for 2 years." She's like, "Perfect. Do you want to teach a class?" I was like, "Yeah, I could do that." She's like, "Great." And I was like, "So when do you want me to start? What are you doing tomorrow?" "Yeah, I got nothing to do." "All right, you could start tomorrow." So I was teaching auto mechanics, which was great because my dad, he's a jack of all trades, and he's, does a lot of things with his hands, and he's very active. And he was always hard on me to change the oil in my SUV. So I was like, this is a good excuse. Let me teach auto mechanics. I did it for 2 years in high school, and now I got a chance to work with some amazing guys and give back to them. So I was doing that. And while I was teaching auto mechanics, the head of the technical department, she was a big thinker. And she came to me and she said, "Hey, Arthur, I like what you're doing here. What would you say going away to study engineering, and then coming back to the island and having a bigger role to play in the technical department in a high school?" And what she was saying at the time, our islands, our local government gave a lot of grants to people on the island to go away, and the catch was after your degree, you would have to come back to the island and work. The good thing was that you were guaranteed work, however. So pretty much all my friends did it. And because I was teaching for 2 years, I didn't get to go straight to school. University right out of high school. The recession hit, money was tight, all that stuff. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. So there was a grant. I applied for the grant. At the same time I applied for the grant, I took some time off and I went over to the other island for that training camp. And that's when the two stories kind of combine here. Because Carla found out that I was interested in going to the university to further my education. And I knew, well, yeah, I could go to university now because I should have some money coming in. I got this grant. So I'll pause here for a sec. Anybody here been to the Caribbean? Just raise a hand. Raise a hand. A few people. So you should understand when they say island life is really laid back. I think most people should get kind of, draw the picture in their head. So I applied to university, and I got accepted. And I got accepted to University of Regina. That's where Carla told me to apply to. I thought it was in Toronto. She said no. I was like, well, if it's not in Toronto, where is it? Is it Vancouver? No. She's like, just Google it. I Googled it. I was like, I didn't even know people lived in the middle of Canada in there. So I was like, okay, all right, I did that. So I applied. So let's hit the timeline now. It is May, I think. And I got an email and a phone call from the government back home saying that I got this grant And I was like, perfect. However, I knew island life, we take, a whole year and a Sunday to do things. Sundays mean, really, really, really quick. But yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm so excited. I feel so good now. Like, I just met some awesome athletes. I met an awesome lady. I'm going to an awesome university. I got a grant. I'm going to go study engineering and come back and teach. I'll have a job when I come back. I was like, I was on top of the world. So I was like, you know what? They're going to take forever to, like, call me up to the office to get me to sign all the papers and all this stuff. Let me just, I'm teaching. I got some money. I'm just going to buy this plane ticket. So at that time, I got all my visa, all that stuff came through. I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I just need money and just, get ready to come in the fall. So it's like, I'm going to buy my ticket. So I bought a one-way ticket because I was like, they could reimburse me when I get the grant and just, write it off like a travel expense or whatever. So I bought a one-way ticket to come to Canada. And at the time, I was dating this girl, and, it was, young, hothead, in love, that sort of thing. I spent a lot of money on her, and like I said, I was on top of the world. So walking you through the timeline, at the end of it, I didn't have much money. I was like, I was living life. I was like, I'm going to get this grant. I'm going to go to school. They're going to take care of everything. So that was, May. Well, when I booked the ticket for September 3rd, 2011. And I booked this ticket in May. And I was like, I do it now, I'll get a cheap flight. And I was on my way. So through that whole summer, I was on top of the world. And then I was like, well, they're not getting back to me. What's happening here? Like, I got the email, I got the call. So I called them and said, hey, I just want to know what's happening now because the high school year is coming to a close. And my principal is expecting me to leave to go away to study. So she's looking for my replacement. So I'm calling the office to say, hey, I haven't heard back from you, let me know. And I did this all summer. So I came to August, and I was on top of the world, and now I'm like in Middle Earth. And I'm feeling the pressure. And I was like, okay, we need to do something here now. At that point in August, my principal had already found my replacement. So I was like, well, I can't go back that way. I need to know what's going to happen. Well, island life. It came down to a week before September 3rd, or whatever that was. And at this point, I had enough. It was like, I didn't know what the hell's going on here because, I did everything right. I did all the paperwork. I did everything. I was just waiting. So, I went in the office. I called. I sat. I waited. I was on hold, everything. And then I get a call back, say, hello, Mr. Ward? Yes. This is Mr. Ward speaking. I just called to let you know that your grant has been deferred and we don't have any funds to send you to university at this time. Have a good day. What? Like, no, something had to be wrong. Like, that was crazy. I just dropped the phone. I just jumped on my bike or whatever. I can't remember how I got there, but I raced straight back up to the high school. I found the principal. It's like, hey, Mrs. Lake. Her name was Mrs. Lake. Mrs. Lake, they're not sending me to university anymore. Please tell me you can find a spot for me in this school. And she's like, I'm sorry, like, I filled the entire roster. I don't have anywhere to put you. And she was like, and I was like, well, there's a spot here. I can teach this class because I took this class when I was in high school. It's like, I already posted that job, and because I posted that job, you've got to go through the whole application cycle and all that. And it's like, holy hell. Okay, what's happening here now? Like, am I still gonna get paid? And it was funny, nobody knew the answer because technically I'm still on the payroll, but I don't have any work. And I'm freaking out at this point. I'm mad, I'm upset. I'm upset because I did everything right. I thought I did everything right. And here I am, they say the nice guys finish last. Well, I was on top of the world. I'm at the very bottom here. And I was like, oh crap, I don't know what to do. So what I did, I was home, I was just pretty much grieving at this point. After I had applied to University of Regina, I was in contact with the coach on the track team. His name's Bruce McCannell. And Carla had connected me with Bruce because Carla was the head coach of the U of R, and when she left to go to Athletics Canada, one of her former athletes, Bruce McCannell, took the head coaching position. So she connected me with him. I'd sent him all my game tapes and all that stuff, and he liked what he saw, and he was in constant contact with me. So I was home, and this was probably the Monday before the Sunday that I had to fly out, when my ticket was supposed to fly out. And I sent Bruce an email. I was like, I just described the entire situation to him. And I was like, I do apologize for taking up your time, but unfortunately I won't be able to make it. And I'm sitting at home that week, that Monday, that whole day Monday, I didn't hear anything back from him. And I didn't hear anything back from where I'm going to go work or what I'm going to do. So I'm home and I'm just angry. I'm just so frustrated. Tuesday came and went, didn't hear anything. Wednesday came and went, I didn't hear anything from anybody, and I'm just getting more and more frustrated, more and more upset, more and more just furious. And then a light bulb went off. It's like, wait a second, this is not like Bruce, because Bruce is very diligent with his emails, and I've never seen anything like that. Like, being from the island where things take a while to, go back and forth, but if you email Bruce, he got back to you within minutes. So it's like, something's not right here. So I look at my email, it's like, oh, sugar. I sent it to the wrong email. He had two, and I just sent it to the one that he didn't use. So it's like, okay, crap. So I corrected that. This was Thursday morning. And later that day, he emailed me back. And I'm at home at the table, and he was like, I didn't want to tell you this until you got here, but based on your high school grades, I found a scholarship for you that would cover a minimum of 6 classes for your first year. And legally, that's the minimum I needed to come to Canada as a full-time student, as per the study permit I had. So it's like, oh, sugar. Now I got another decision to make. Like, what do? I've never been to Canada. I've never been up here. I don't know anybody here except that one lady that I met on the other island for that training camp. And I'm going to God knows where. I've got this one-way ticket. And at this time, I had $600 because I blew all my money. At that point, I was like, just eating out, just trying to do anything that would make me happy. And I was like, I don't know what to do. So, I looked to my mom. She left the room. And I was sitting there. I sat there for an hour just looking at this email. I was like, geez, like, what if I go to Canada and this doesn't work out? I'm screwed because I don't have a ticket to come back. What the hell do I do? My mom came back in the room and she just long tears just coming down her face. And she just looked at me and she's like, pack your bags because they make a mess of this whole situation here. So, if you go to Canada and it's, it can be as worse as it is right here. Just pack your bags and go. So I was like, oh, sure. Ooh. All right, well, and we call her Mom Sweet Lily. So I was like, if Sweet Lily say go, then, I gotta go because, she loved me a lot and she was really protective of me growing up. And she just like, go. And she was really frustrated and mad. So I was like, well, this is it. So that was the Friday. I packed my bags. I was on that plane. I came to Canada. And I got to the team. And the reason why the $600 was a big thing because my first year I was living on res, and rent at res was $658 a month. So I don't know where I got the extra $58 from, but I managed to pay the first month rent. And I worked out a deal with my dad because before I left the island, I had a pool job that paid like $200 a month. So it's like, hey Dad, can you take over that job for me and then send me that money? So it's like, okay. So me making the decision to come to Canada at that point, sitting at a table in my living room, looking at that email, that was decision number 2 that I had to make. Decision number 1 was saying yes to the 400 when I was 9 years old. That got me in the track. Decision number 2 was saying yes to leaving my island and going to God knows where. That brought me here. That was decision number 2. And let me take you to decision number 3. So because I had to find money to pay rent, I was like, I need a job. I need work. And at the time when I came in 2011, it was set up where you had to be a student for 6 months before you can apply for another permit to work off campus. So I had to stay on campus. So there wasn't much, but my coach got me a job to do the film and game tape at the basketball and volleyball games. So keep a note of that because that would bring it all together in the end. So I was doing the filming at the basketball and volleyball games on top of doing track. And then I still need more money because, $658 for a broke student is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So I'm walking around the university one Saturday and I picked up this paper and I'm flipping through the paper. It's like a student paper type of thing. And in the back of the paper, there's like, looking for photographers. So it's like, I got an old camera. I just had an old camera that I brought with me because it's like, I'm coming to Canada. I don't know I've never seen snow. Like, I want to see mountains and goose and moose. So I brought this old camera that I went to there was a photography studio on the island. I went to him and it's like, you have any cameras, man? It was just out of desperation. He's like, well, I have this old DSLR that doesn't work, but here's what I'll do. I could send it back to Nikon and have them repair it for me, and then you just pay the cost it takes to repair it. I was like, yeah, sure. And it was $200. So did that. So I had this camera. So it's like, well, they're looking for a photographer, they're hiring, I'm gonna apply. Well, I applied, and I got an email back and it said, thank you for your application. However, we can't consider your application because you applied on a Saturday and the deadline was the Friday. Crap. Well, yeah, okay. Then he followed up with another paragraph. However, we do invite contributors to our newspaper. So if you're interested in contributing, you can sign up to this list and we'll send you assignments and then you can just, contribute photos. So it's like, And that was decision number 3. I was like, I could have walked away and it's like, no, I need a job. Go to McDonald's or go to Tim Hortons on campus and get money. But I was like, you know what? I got a camera, I want to use it. This gives me something to do. So I signed up for the list. And they would send me assignments every week and I'll just take my camera and I use that as an excuse to explore the campus. Because I'm fresh out of the Caribbean. I don't know anything about Regina, this was new to me. So I'll walk around, I'll follow the directions, and I'll be like, okay, I need to take a picture of this statue over there. Okay, here we go, bang. I'm walking around taking all these pictures, and I'm having fun because I'm exploring. And then I was walking somewhere in one of the halls, and I just stopped. Something just stopped me, and I backpedaled, and I looked around the corner. I was like, you gotta be friggin' kidding me. What? On the front of one of those newspapers was full spread. I recognized the picture because one of the pictures I took. There was some ceremony or something, and I took a picture of somebody giving an award, and it was on the front page. I was like, I took up maybe like 4 or 5 of those copies and I took them back to my dorm. I was like, this is awesome, this is amazing. So that gave me so much motivation. I was all over the place. And then I came in September. In November, I got an email. I actually got a phone call. The editor of the student newspaper called me. He's like, hey, you're doing a kick-ass job, man. We want to give you that job. So they gave me that job, and they paid me $10 every time a photo got published in the newspaper. Now, to wrap up, just getting right to the end here, I would get like $20 every 2 weeks because 1 or 2 pictures would get published. But because I was doing the game and the filming at the volleyball and basketball games, I started ending up going to those games, taking my camera with me, and any chance I could take a couple pictures because the sports editor wanted sports photos. And nobody was really coming out to the university at like 6 and 7 o'clock at night to get sports photos. So I'd take my camera, keep it with me, take a couple photos. And what I didn't realize is that the sports editor always needed photos. And if you took 1 or 2 photos of a person on that team, they'll be on that roster for the rest of the season, or the semester, the school year. So they'll keep using those photos over and over. And I remember I got a check from the business manager, and like I said, I usually get $20 every 2 weeks. Well, this check had an extra 0 on it. So I was like, this can't be right. So I took it back to the manager, and I was like, yeah, you know what, you paid me too much. He looked at me, and he's like, man, have you looked in the paper? Like, all but 3 photos in that paper were ones from you. Like, we used all your photos. And then in there, that was the moment. I was like, whoa, I can actually like make money from photography. And when I say make money, I was thinking I can pay rent and I could buy groceries from just doing something that I love doing. So that led to a lot of different things. And those 3 decisions brought me here today. And from that moment to where I am now, I started my own business, which was an accident as well because somebody told me, well, you know, register a business, you got to start collecting and paying taxes. You don't want to get a slap on the wrist. That could be bad. You know, if you're making all this money, you need to do this. So I started that. Okay, let's register a business, let's do all that stuff. And, you know, here I am today. My name's Arthur Ward. I consider myself a content creator. I take passion in sharing the stories of other athletes. I think sports have laid the foundation for who I am today and taught me a lot of things. And all, you know, I want to do in life right now is just go out and share the stories of, you know, of athletes and people in the sporting world. So with those 3 decisions that I made, I want to end on this point. At every decision I made, there was a person on the other end of it that gave me that opportunity and gave me that opportunity to make a decision. And I believe strongly and firmly, they say money makes the world go around. And by that meaning, if you have money, you know, you could do anything. You can get, you know, access to a lot of things. But that wasn't my case. I think people take you around the world. And if anyone is here in the room, you know, if I've ever worked with you, if I've ever had a conversation with you, if I've ever partnered with you, if I've ever, you know, collaborated with you, I want to thank you because I'm a representation of all the people that I've met on that crazy path I've had up until this point. And then to end, I did say I was doing the filming and game tapes at the basketball and volleyball games. Well, there was a fourth decision, because working those games at the university, that led me to meet my beautiful fiance who's in the back here, and we're getting married in a year from now, and you know, the story continues. So I just want to say it, don't be afraid to make a decision. And when you make that decision, just own it and just go down that road, because you're going to have another decision to make. And just whatever you decide in that moment, own it and just go down that path. Because in life, they say the more effort you put in, the greater the reward, and it will look something like this. That's what it teaches. It's gonna have this straight line, but really what it looks like is It's gonna look like this. So all this is failure. It's going backwards. It's taking a couple steps backwards. It's going around in circles, and you're still gonna get to where you want to go. Just believe in the process. Thank you so much.